Hola, hola. How are my artivistas doing? Welcome back. This is episode 2 of Intergenerational Artivism. So, if you're ready, we're going to go ahead and jump right in. So, last episode, we went ahead and left off talking about the mujeres and the chicanas that were involved in printed and digital media. We went ahead and see how we went through the 70s to the 90s to modern day digital art. And the way that mujeres have been building up and the methods that they've been using through denuncia, if you remember, if you recall these terms, zapatismo, we also went through cultures of silence and that groundbreaking that happens there. And so what we're going to pick up today is some of the art that is created within community in collaboration with them in more physical spaces as well. So the printed ones are physical things that are going to become accessible. And besides this, we also want to talk about the way that our communities are planned. So if we think about urban planning and we think about what are the things that are in our community, what are the things that we see, and this could be the buildings that we have, the type of businesses. And so something that's going to hold a lot of power in Chicano artivism is going to be the use of murals and visual art. So today I'm going to go ahead and pick one thing to focus on. So get excited if you have not heard about Judy Baca. So Judy Baca is a writer, an activist, an artist, and more commonly also a muralist. And she resides in Los Angeles most of the time. She is a professor at UCLA. And then Judy Baca is also very big in the world of Chicana artivism, being a Chicana herself. And one of her most well-known artworks is going to be the Great Wall of Los Angeles. So the Great Wall of Los Angeles is going to be a 2,754 foot long mural. And it's going to be very, very big for Los Angeles because, first of all, Chicano, California has been a hub for Chicano murals. We have Chicano Park today. That is in San Diego. So we kind of see kind of how across California, California is going to be this place for Chicanos to go ahead and create all this art. And in Los Angeles, having also certain communities that are predominantly Chicano, Latinx. Having your culture reflected in the physical spaces as you walk down the streets, that's going to become something very powerful. And the other thing is also going to be the process of the creation. How much time went into this project, and also the people who were involved in this, especially being local community members. So what the work does is that it's a stretched out timeline of California. So if you imagine it, you have this 2,700 foot wall, and it runs across where there used to be a river that ran through. And so in this space, we see the whole side of the river where it used to be. And in here, we have a showcase of multi-ethnic and multicultural stories. And most of them are going to be now highlighted here. So it's going to go ahead and bring out this multi-ethnic and multicultural perspective to what is usually the history of California through through a white perspective, or through an Anglo-American perspective. So some of the examples that are going to be included in here are going to be indigenous tribes in California, the racial violence during the gold rush, unsigned treaties between the indigenous tribes that were here and continue to be here, the missionaries, the Mexican-American War, repatriation with sending the forced sent back of many Mexican-Americans, the internment camps that happened. So these are going to be the Japanese internment camps. We see the Mexican-American War, as also mentioned already, the farmers' boycotts, and then also just a lot of significant events that go up all the way into the 1950s. And so during this time, when Judy Baca is creating this, her vision is to showcase a long narrative of another history of California. So when we say another, we kind of using again, bringing in this form of denuncia, where we're saying what we currently see as the mainstream, what we have access to, what we are teaching our students and our children. That's one version. Now let's go ahead and create this other version that brings out and challenges the erasure of certain groups that marginalizes our stories. And so Baca's mural is a counter narrative, something that presents a new perspective, new layers to our current understandings. So this counter narrative is going to go ahead and inform the way that public art is used as resistance and representation. So, in addition to the creation of this physical mural that continues to stand today, Baca also highlights that there is a second invisible product. So, when we say invisible, we want to talk about something that, yes, we have this mural and it's taking up physical space, and we get to see it and visit it and experience it. With this, there is also the intergenerational harmony, which she calls, between the people who have created it. And she refers to this as, while our sense of our individual families, places, and history took form, we also became a family to one another. So if we see something that's really important and is going throughout history in the Chicano movement, for example, is going to be unity and solidarity. So if we see taking on this multi-ethnic approach, something that's really important is going ahead and bringing in Chicanos also to see how their history intertwines with other racial groups who have been titled as minorities and who have been displaced and who have faced violence in California. And so the mural is going to be created by over 400 youth participants, and it's also going to include 35 members of Spark. And Spark is the Social and Public Art Resource Center, and this is the one where Judy Baca works with, and she is one of the leading directors. And then what we see here is that Baca wants to go ahead and highlight, by bringing in this community, the power that public art has to educate people about their history and also to unite people in learning about this history. Because when you give people something that tells them who represents who they are, and you're building it as a community, you are collectively sharing this feeling, sharing this moment, this breaking of silence, and that can be something very powerful that unites a community and gives them a sense of belonging and a sense of we are familia, something that we all share and that we all can relate to. And so a central theme here is self and communal identity, which is something that's really important in our urban planning, because when we create in urban planning the way that communities are going to be structured, we want to think about who it's accessible to, who has whose needs are being met, and who the resources are being targeted to. Are the wants of the community being met the way that they want them to? And so with art, you're going to see that it's a form of expression, so you wanted to express and represent the people. And so also going into it, something that has been really exciting is also the way that Judy Baca's mural is going to play out today in modern day. And that's going to lead us into Chicana futurism, which is this very exciting topic. And it's going to also talk about the way that we are now using technology in all these amazing ways and the new possibilities that it's going to open up for Chicanx artists today and in the future. So this has been just a little tidbit, some insight into one of many murals that exist in California and the United States. Chicago being another great hub for them, some other states in the middle parts of the United States, and there's going to be so much more to go on. So Los Angeles is going to be one that houses, but let's not forget that there are so many to highlight in this selection. So hope you learned something new, Artivistas, and I will see you on episode 3.